everybody! Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Ann, disembodied Hans, Quindy, our wonderful, wonderful assistants, Justin and John, and a Kiki who was so eager to get up here and say hello to you that she didn't even let me sit down. Yes. Good morning. Good morning, all. Good morning. I'm gonna expel the doglet shortly here, but yes. So we had a really good road trip to Arizona. Yeah, she got to get lots of pettings from Grandpa and Grandma. They were far more excited to see her than me. All right, happy girl. Let's go. Nope, leave it. Come on, let's go. No, I know you'd like to stay up there. Good girl. Yep, play with the box. Good girl. All right. So that was a weird intro, but hi. She is a handful, but she grew a new adult brain cell on the road, I think. Although it was an adventure because I didn't have a crate for her, so every morning, the minute people started moving around, I had a Kiki on my bed, on my head. Yes. So yes, thank you for the welcome back, Quindy. Coffee is not here. That's a problem. Return it. All right. Wait, where am I? There I am. Woo! Okay. I don't remember my buttons. It's been too long. So yes, good morning, everyone. I hope you were all had a nice break while I was gone. I hope you all painted things, hopefully, or worked on things, or worked on sculpting things in the case of green users. I waved in your general direction, Bob and Julie. I wasn't sure which direction that was when I was in Arizona, but I waved. Oh no, that sucks, Valandar. Yeah, we lost power last night. I was like, oh no, let this not be another one of those 3-day power outages. And we might lose power again today because we're having windstorms. You waved back. Yeah, we had a good time. Kiki went to a different dog park every day. So she had fun running around and exploring, being in a new house, sometimes without me, because if I went out to run an errand, or Mom and I went out to run an errand, she got to stay with Grandpa, and that was a new experience. It's good practice for being in a dog sitter's house. So yeah, it worked pretty well. And the drive wasn't too bad. The first day was terrible. I made the mistake of taking the route that Google recommended, which got steadily worse as the day went on, which is the problem with Google Maps, right? It's like your route is great right now, and then by the time you actually get down through a quarter or a third of the way through your very long route, it's like, oh no, there's traffic. You should have taken the other way. So instead, I actually listened to my parents on the way back and took I-40, and that was much better. Hey, D. Clearman. 46 months, pretty much owning almost everybody else on the monthly thing. Thank you for the resub. But yeah, I didn't, hello, Anara. Good morning. But yeah, the downside is since I was spending time with my folks, I didn't get as much work done, which is kind of the point, right? If you're taking a vacation to go visit your parents, you probably shouldn't work through the whole thing. But I didn't get as much done on my book as I wanted to, which means I'm having to push off my publication date. There's no way it's going to be tomorrow. No way. So yeah, I pushed it off into March to give myself a little bit of de-stress breathing room. Oh, Lady Nim, yay, 16 months. Ooh, that's good. 7-month streak, lucky number 7. Good morning. But yeah, so the book is pushed off a bit because I couldn't. It turns out that rereading through your own book in hard copy actually takes time when you're making notes on corrections. So yeah. Yeah, I like to be productive. I have this annoying habit. Left to myself, I will workaholic. I will. I absolutely will. I've done it before. When there was no David, when I was between marriages, I was a terrible workaholic. Absolutely. And I get a ton done, but I also get exhausted and stressed. So, Yeah, clean and reset. I'm with you, Inara. That's kind of what I'm doing, actually, the next 2 days, because today Kiki has a new appointment with a new vet. So that's going to be just that's going to suck up a part of my afternoon, right in the middle of my productive time. And then I've got to go down and get my P.O. box, and that's going to suck up another part. So I've got all these, and plus I just got back to a house that, needs help. Because you don't clean right before you go on vacation, right? Like, if you're good, you kind of make sure everything is kind of orderly, but you don't clean. And so you walk up in the door and you're like, oh my God. Especially when David has been living in it for a day before you get back. Oh, Lordy. So, yeah. Plus, I have Patreon stuff I need to get done by the end of the month, and Patreon is my highest priority, so that means the book needs to be pushed off until I get all the Patreon stuff done. Because six days off, even though 4 of them were driving, 6 days off means I'm behind. So now I need to actually finish everything. I did, Lady Nim, but it's still time out of my day, and it's a disruption. It's hard to, not everybody is like this. Some people are really adaptable in their brains. Like, they just they get, like, they can jump up and interrupt what they're doing and go and do a thing. And then you're like, oh, that was only 20 minutes. And then they can get right back into what they were doing. I am not like that. I depend on being very focused to get things done, which means that when there's a disruption in my day, even if it's only for 20 minutes of going downtown and picking up the key, which is what it's going to be, even if there's that, it shakes me. I take a long time to get back into my focused state. So sadly, it's still a disruption. I'll get around it, but it's still an annoyance. Yes, thanks, Graniko. It's good to see you. My mom has been knitting. Says, I think when I got into knitting, it like reminded her that she liked knitting. So she actually is finishing a project that she had put aside for actually literally years. And she's also, this is really cool. This should guys show you. I mean, my mom is super cool. I've talked about this before, I think. My mom is one of the coolest people I know. So she loves to knit, but she doesn't need a lot of extra clothes or anything or stuff. And so what she's been doing is she's been knitting baby blankets and like little kid blankets and giving them to the Goodwill in Phoenix. Because that's my mom. So it gives her projects and she can still do fun stuff, but then she gives them to people who need them. So I thought that was really cool when she told me that's what she'd been doing. Because she likes to do blankets, like, but smaller, like little throws and stuff, right? Yeah, it doesn't judge you when you come back. You still have to remember where you were, right? I'm kind of grumpy about my new project. I'm like considering going and getting a different type of yarn for it. Because it was supposed to be a bulky yarn, and I got something, the person at the knitting store recommended something, and this is the second time I've kind of had a meh with the person at the knitting store as far as what she recommends. I don't know if she just likes lighter weight yarns or what, but it was supposed to be bulky. She got me something that wasn't quite bulky, and then Mom and I had to go together after I did my swatch and figure out, like, you know, how we had to alter the pattern to work with the smaller yarn, which is going to take longer. I'm like, so I'm kind of debating going to the knitting store this weekend and getting some bulky yarn, which I should have just gotten. I should have just not asked for help, but I'm so new at the hobby, I always ask for help. And I bet you guys have gotten into this too, with painting, right? Have you ever had that moment where you're like, well, I'm kind of new at this, and so you go and you ask online, and people give you these suggestions, and you're like, oh, okay, and you try it, and it just doesn't work for you. And they're like, you feel kind of bad because, you know, maybe you should have followed your gut in the first place and just soldiered on, but you didn't. You asked, and now you got distracted and discouraged. Oh, that's really nice, Kritiko. Yeah. But yeah, so it happens in all creative pursuits. It happens in all creative pursuits. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go to the knitting store and not ask for help and just buy some yarn. And then do my cowl that I want to do, because I'm like, this lighter weight yarn, I'm sure it'll look really cool and all, but I'm going to have to, like, to get the pattern, I'm going to have to, like, do, like, double seed. No, Kritika, they're good at not pushing stuff. Like, she always gives me a number of options, but it's like she doesn't listen when I tell her, like, it's like, honestly, I feel like she's got something against bulky wool, or bulky yarn in general. Like, I kind of feel, I get that, like, every time I ask for something bulky, it's just like, no. It's very silly. No, but they didn't pull that. I actually still made my choices, and I chose yarn that I really liked as far as the color and everything from the stuff that because she's like, this would work. And I'm like, it will? Okay. You know, who am I to know? But now I've actually got an idea since I swatched it, and I'm like, no, this is way too thin of a yarn to do what I wanted to do. And I wanted to do it fairly quickly because it's still cold here and I want this thing. But But yeah, so things. Anyway, let's actually get some things working while we do our thing. So proof of concept on the leg worked nicely. But yeah, they're a nice little shop, but I kind of am getting their groove. I feel like the younger lady is actually the one who's more on top of stuff at this shop. I feel like she's actually the owner. And the older lady is there because other older ladies like feel happy with her. And she's really nice. But she's like really, I don't know, like this is like I said, this is the second time I've gotten a recommend that wasn't quite what I asked for. So... Right, and that's kind of what I wanted, Kriniko. I kind of wanted a fast, like, I wanted to knit a cowl that I could, like, have on me in the house when it gets cold out, so that I could feel warm and cozy, right? Because it's very cold here. Like, oh my God, guys, in Arizona, it was in the 70s. I was so happy. I was so happy. I just felt good. I'm just like, yay, springtime, yay, warm, yay. And and even better on the first day of driving through the desert, because we drove more like into an even warmer area, and that was so nice. But man, I love the desert. I just love the desert. Like someday I'll probably end up in the desert, or at least like having a small place in the desert. And David wants a place in the mountains, so he wants a cold place for skiing. I want the warm place. Yes, we are back. We are back. All right, so I've got my recipe here, so let me get out my colors so we can paint while we talk. I know it's always a chatty stream when I get back from somewhere. So we were working with Nightmare Black, mostly blue liner, but a bit of Nightmare Black because I wanted that intense blueness to it. So the blue liner helps take it down and make it more black, which we want. And then the Nightmare gives it that undertone, that strong blue undertone, which really hits when you start adding white to it. So we're working with these formulas, and I have my swatches. So 9066 is blue liner, 280 is Nightmare, and then it's a 1 to 6, 1 to 6, just giving us a little bit of opacity. And you can see this actually. I talked about this in my blues PDF, which I just put out for the Patreon. See if I can get it to actually show. If I have some black in the picture, maybe. It's hard to get this to work. Because, of course, the white card is really... there we go. Yeah, there we go. All right. So you can see with the initial mix that it is translucent. You can see through it, right? So... but then when we add that bit of white, look at how much more the coverage is. Even that's only just 1 drop of white into 6 drops of this. And it shifts the color a ton, and it makes it very opaque. You can see that we only see through it on the edges where the brushstrokes are naturally thinner when I'm pulling the paint out. Whereas here, we're getting that see-throughness at the middle. So that is one of the things that happens with really transparent colors and adding a little bit of white to them is that immediately they go opaque, and that makes it very hard to blend between the two. So, and I explain why in the PDF. But that is why I'm doing so little white to so much of my base coat so that I can get a better blend out the gate for this armor. So yeah. All right, well let's mix up both of those colors then. I'm going to block in the rest of the armor so that we'll be able to see what we have left essentially after that. Sure, I'm glad you liked it, Big Chimpo. I had lots of fun writing it. I really like to go into the pigment grinds and opacity and all that kind of thing. I got to look up lots of fun stuff online. I found out that ultramarine pigment has really variable grind, and that they grind it all, and it doesn't grind uniformly. And so what they do then is they use a sifting process to separate out the largest particles and then the next largest particles, and all the way down to the super fine particles, which essentially go into pigment. So then that's what you get with synthetic ultramarine pigment. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, with transparency it does, because that transparency is just light passing through what you've done. So okay, so I'm one big drop of Nightmare in the first, and then I need 1, 2 drops of Nightmare there. A mini epiphany. Ah, pun. All right. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yay. All right. All right, we've got 2 puddles. I'm going to add white to one of them. So we're going to set it up. We're going to do our first highlight. Wait a minute. Where did my white go? Oh, it went over here. 1 second. I still had my paints laid out from the PDF, so my white had traveled over there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm working with those now, Quindy, to play with them a bit more. I've got the 2, they only have the 2 sets, right? Those are the ones I have, the 2 sets. The chimeras are definitely going to be a thing that I'm going to either have to wet blend or use glazing with, as far as if I want smoothness, I have to go Master Series. But they're interesting, and they're good at different stuff, as I talked about in my PDF. But even more, I've got even more of a window into them now because I've been working with them. All right, I'm going to add 2 drops to each of these, which is going to make us a 3-to-1. We'll see if I regret going that thin for my first coat here, but oh, smaller expansion sets. Oh, okay. Ooh, you have even more than I do. Now I'm feeling paint envy. I'm feeling paint envy, guys. You all know that feeling, right? Paint envy. So are they all, well, obviously I can't get the Kickstarter exclusive, but are the smaller sets available? Are those the ones that like different artists designed, or fear of not enough use? Although I also have the scale color artist, and those are, I mean, they were designed by the same person, and so between the 2, I feel like I've got a very good representative group of colors to play with. I do like the Pure Pigments because it's like being back in the Reaper paint department, because I know exactly what to do with them because I worked with Pure Pigments when I was designing paint lines, so it just regresses. Base set and set number 2 are what I've got. Okay. Oh, I know Robert. I don't think I've ever met Fabrizio, but I know Robert. I'll have to go look. So can I find those in the USA? I'll have to go look. Oh, it was Scale Color that had them, right? Or I mean, Scale 75 was carrying them. Yeah. If you could check, Wendy, that'd be great. I don't feel bad talking about these on stream because they're very different from Master Series. They're not. You definitely still, if you are doing thinned applications, glazing, layering, any of that, you definitely want to go Master Series. Especially if you're doing layering and you want to get smooth blends. Then I think Master Series is the only good choice. Unless you really want to have to F around with the paint immensely. And even then, I don't think, I mean, I've effed around. Trust me, guys, I've taken this hit for you. And Master Series excels at that. All right, so we're going to start out with our darkest color. I could do it the other way. I could start out with my first highlight, but then the armor would look lighter blue, and I do want it to look blue-black, since I want it to look so dark. Yeah. Yeah, paint departments do get behind very easily. I know, I speak from experience. So these little plates up here are going to be this color. once we put this black down, it's going to be a lot harder for you guys to see. I'm going to have to probably put a black base behind her. But essentially, I want these little, there's these little decorative circles here. I'm kind of thinking about making those brassy or gold for accents. In which case I want to get in here and line around them. Okay, yeah. All right, that's fine. I'll hold off. I feel pretty good about what I've got. I think the big circle is also going to be a blue-black. I think I'm not going to make that. It's usually a part, when you see these big circles on the joints to protect the joints, they're like little joint shields. They're usually attached to the elbow piece. So even if they look separate, you usually want to make them the same color as the elbow piece. But the reason those little weird bits exist are definitely for joint armor. Yeah, signature blend, yep. Yeah, and I'm less, because they aren't pure pigments, I'm less interested. The thing that I like about the Chimera sets are the fact that I can mess around like I did in the old days. So I like being able to play with the pigments. So we'll see. I'll look at the sets and see if they have any colors that I really am attracted to. But these days I think I'm getting more picky with colors. I get very impatient when like grayed out colors are included in one of these sets, because I'm like, I can mix that. We actually, for years now, and I mean probably a decade in our we had thought about doing that. The reason we didn't was because the paint department was always slammed. Like, we just couldn't, like, and when I asked our painters, they would come up, like, they had one color usually that they wanted. And so that's actually how, like, Proctor Punch Purple and Rich Green and Corporeal Shadow, all those are our painter choices, painter formulas. But they were only special, limited, right? And that's the thing, we never put them in a set. I never understood why we kind of didn't, except maybe we didn't really, like, it never coalesced. Like, it never coalesced and became a thing. I think that when it came down to it, Ed thought that those were very limited appeal, and he'd rather put the resources into a new Fast palette than into a set that appeals to people who are fans of the Reaper painters, but other people are going to be like, well, who the heck, right? Because let's face it, with those Chimera things, and maybe it's different because with Chimera, the European art community, painting community, they do know the big name painters, and maybe there is a huge demand for this sort of thing. But in America, there isn't so much a demand for this sort of thing. We don't really do, like, we have some rock star painters, but most gaming painters and D&D painters who maybe come to the Reaper website and are looking for paint, if they saw even a Jennifer Haley or an Ann Forster set, they're just going to be like, what, who? You know, right, like that. And you'd be better off just giving them a slime and goo set, and they'd be like, oh, awesome, slime and goo, and they'd buy that, you know, they'd buy the house out of that, right? So when you get an idea, you always have to question, you have to look at your audience. I was talking to David about this yesterday because he was talking about how Reaper tends to have very over-exaggerated detail on their miniatures, and it reminded him of Privateer Press for that reason. And I'm like, because you're doing 28, so you're doing them for gamers. And you've got to remember that even after all this time, gamers are still Reaper's main market, and they're certainly Privateer's market. So you always, it's marketing, right? You got to ask, well, how many people would really buy this, or would they rather just have the slime and goo set? Now that I've mentioned a slime and goo set, everybody will want a slime and goo set. There is no slime and goo set. The cake is a lie. Until somebody steals this idea. Yeah, right. So, and the other problem with doing an artist set, now less so again, when you've got a lot of the European painters, they've got like art backgrounds, or they've at least studied, to have art backgrounds. And they are probably more able to put together a set that makes sense, right? I guess Wapple could do it. Probably Proctor or Rhonda. Rhonda could definitely do it. Like, right? They could do it, but some of the others painters might not even know where to start to create a good set. And the problem with Reaper is, and this is always the problem when you have 500 colors, your painters are going to say, I want a blue that is this, and I'm going to say, oh, that exists in Pathfinder over here. So the problem is when you get to a certain number of colors, creating new unique colors is exponentially harder because you've done almost everything. Like, it is a rare color that pops up that is really unique today. Like Asmodeus Red. Right, but all of those lines are much smaller than Reaper. I could probably, at this point, I could go back and maybe make a new set of 6, maybe 12 colors that we just don't have, because I've been looking at other paint lines, and I've been thinking about colors I like to mix and things like that. I could maybe do it, but it's a real, yeah, see, that's it. Thanks, Anara. Good. Yeah, actually the Gloom Engrave is the one that I would recommend out of all of them as far as usefulness. I find that the Gloom Engrave colors I really think are extremely useful. So if I had to say one fast palette that I think is absolutely useful, all the colors, it would be Gloom Engrave. That's a really, whenever you can actually paint an entire miniature with 6 colors and have it look good, like we did with Crimson Herald, you know it's a good box. Yeah, they have a lot fewer colors. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the advantage of going small to begin with, is you have so much more room then to play. And we used to, right? I mean, that's why Reaper's been making paint for eternity, right? Ages. 15 plus 17 years now, 18, 19, almost 20 years. It's like a year younger than my tenure at Reaper. So I'm being very careful, by the way, because if I'm careful on my base coat and I don't have to do any touch-ups, then that's nice, because I don't have to, it saves me time. Essentially, anytime you lose by doing a very careful first base coat, you usually make back by the fact that you don't have to touch up and correct stuff that you may have been messy about. So, yeah. Oh, absolutely, Anara. Like that would be a thing to do, right? But to do that now, we'd need another person at Reaper who could do those videos, right? Yeah, when you're either lazy about mixing colors or you're really uncomfortable with it, you just don't understand it very well. Like, then the Reaper, the vast number of colors that Reaper gives you, is very helpful, right? It's all just philosophies. I mean, there's no good or bad about any part of it. If you want to mix your own colors, mix your own colors. If you want to use all the colors, use all the colors. I mean, anybody who judges you one way or another is just kind of dumb, in my opinion. It's like, people going to do what people going to do, and if it suits them, they absolutely should be doing it that way. They should not be doing it your way or the other person's way. They should do the way that works for them, because we want people to love their hobby. So let's not get all judgy about it. We're back to #unjudge. Like, I don't remember, but there was a long time ago, there was a paint company who essentially said that people who used, and I won't mention the company because I don't want to diss anybody on the stream, but they essentially had one of their people suggest that people who used dropper bottles weren't real painters, and that it was a stupid crutch, and that they would never learn to paint they would never really learn to paint with dropper bottles, which I just had to like, I just pretty much died laughing at that point. Couldn't believe that that person had said that. Yeah, yeah, Reaper does. And we've always been, it's always been that way. Like since the dawn of time, guys, Reaper has been that way. Um, yeah, John is run ragged. But just imagine, I mean, there was a time when the need for a John was not widely acknowledged, you know, and so even then we were like, we need people who do, a person who needs to do all of this, you know. I think it got dumped on Justin at that point, and then Justin's like, I'm gonna have John do some of this. But it's because Reaper tries to run a really tight ship, right? Like we want the company to be profitable. We want it to stay around. We want to be able to explore like new technologies, like the new 3D printing stuff, and that we're doing, and the Silecast, and you know we want the money around to do that. And so, you know, Dave thinks very... Okay, first understand, Dave hates firing people. Everybody thinks Dave loves firing people, but no, Dave hates firing people. So the last thing Dave wants to do is overcommit on labor. He would rather find somebody already in the company that he can leverage to do a new task, to see if it works out, and to see if it really is, like, really is necessary before he makes that call. All right? Big Apple, thank you. Yeah, well, you know, shh, Kernika, don't tell anybody. I've pretty much, the conversation got shut down after that on that company's forums, so. But you just don't do that. Like, and some people, but you know what? And again, this is an example of everybody being different, but some people don't understand that everybody's different. Some people actually are wired to see the commonalities between us all, right? And that's cool too. You know, it's a different kind of thing. I'm somebody who definitely is focused on how different each of us is from each other and how cool that is. But not everybody sees that. Some people look at us all and say, "Oh, but we're all so alike, and this is all what we have in common, and we should get along and be cool because, like, look at all we have in common." But yeah, I'm much more about how people are different. I still see the connections between people, like in that so many different things are connected, but I love how different everyone is, and I love exploring. That's why I used to analyze painters' styles, and I still do somewhat. I love to look at a painter and kind of figure out what makes their style work. Like the specific things they're doing that make you say, that's a Ben Comets, or that's a Sergio, or that's a David Diamondstone. Like all those things. I love looking at those things and analyzing them. Oh my gosh, Kerniko. Oh. Like, are you sure they really lost your blood? Like, maybe they have a vampire on staff. Maybe you're just super tasty, and that vampire, like, has poor impulse control, so they just essentially can't keep their hands off. It's like a pan of steaming brownies to them, and they're just like, oh my gosh, and then, oops, we lost your blood. Can you please come back and give more? That's what I think. I say vampire. Alrighty, so I want to you kind of look around here and see. A lot of this stuff is kind of up and under, and I want to do that dark. It's not really sculpted per se, so if you can't tell what it is, or it just seems blank and it's upper inside area, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of vampires working in like blood departments, and that's why so many blood samples go missing. So like right here, I can't tell if this is a belt or not. I mean, there is a belt here. I might be able, but if I can't tell, I'm probably going to make it dark because I know this is going to be like a silver color and I need the contrast. So rather than going, I'm going to go dark. There. All right, so cloth. chainmail, probably gold. And now we're back to the leg. Oh, geez. Yeah. Yeah, there are people who just do not understand that scale creep is a thing, and different scales, just different scale variations on 28 millimeter are a thing, and Reaper's models are seldom 28 anymore. But hey, did David bring my ruler back? I'm going to pummel that man. Grr, he stole my tiny ruler and he didn't bring it back, and I told him it was my precious. Seriously, he's in for a load of it when he comes home. Stealing my tiny ruler. Otherwise, I would measure this right now. But no, I can't because somebody stole my tiny ruler. Yeah, give him a good pop. Yep. Indeed. And yeah, okay, we're going to do this. Now, the little diamonds down here I did do in blue. I could go over them with gold instead. I could decide to make them ornamentation, but I'm going to hold off on deciding for sure. Also, I could make these little diamond shapes because they are the same kind of shape as these. I could make them this dark metal. And I may want to because, as you can see, there's a big gap here where there's none of the blued metal. And I could take advantage of those little diamonds and put them in the dark color. So that we may do that. So let's get this blocked in since we know it is what it is. I'm also going to do all this space underneath here, this gray recess space, is also going to be this blue-black. And you're not even going to notice that it's bluish because it's in the shadow, right? Because there is such a strong shadow on the underside of this. There's no reason to reach for a different shadow color here because this color is near black. You're just not going to notice that. It already looks a different color. Dang it, I love my tiny ruler. It's been with me for a long time. It's got the centimeters and it's got the millimeters and the inches, and that's why I always keep it, because it's my miniatures measuring ruler. And he stole it the other day because he needed to measure something, and I said, bring it back because that's my precious, and he didn't. Yep, he'll be lucky if I make him dinner tonight. How am I supposed to measure things on stream without my tiny ruler? That's what I want to know. And it's annoying around here because a lot of rulers that I have don't even have the centimeters or millimeters. Because USA is like head stuck in the sand hating metric. All right, there we go. These parts near the wings, I don't even really need to do because the wings slot in here. So for a good bond, I probably want to leave these unpainted. One thing I may want to do is just go around, use this as a liner, and just go around the very inside of this connection to create a shadow, but leave a lot of it open. Because I want the glue to have a good connection with the wing. It did work for the clippers. It did work. The clippers were like his favorite present that he's gotten. Like this year, they were his favorite present, so. You're right, I should just make it a Christmas gift. Good point. Good point, Big Either. Because their printer was broken. Oh my gosh. Yes, the US is silly about rulers. Well, we're silly about a great many things. Let's be honest here. I think every country is silly about different things. It's one of those things you learn when you live there that you otherwise might not notice. But I'm pretty sure you could bring up some silly things about Scotland. All right, so we've got cloth, we've got belts, we've got more cloth. Looks like everything here is going to be leather and cloth. I am going to put a dark line, a shadow, on the underside of the hair, right where it runs into that leather. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have to say, like, yes, they're horribly overpriced, but the GW clippers are worth it. Like, that's one of the few things that I feel like if you do a lot of like sprue or, you know, that if you do a lot of clipping off of sprues, absolutely worth it to have the precision. Everything else is a tool that's like not made for stuff that's so precise that you're kind of, that has just been kind of adapted for usage in our hobby. All right. Okay, it's good. I'm gonna make the little diamonds dark blue. A corgi-sized meteor had fallen, weighing roughly 2.5 elephants. Yep. Mostly probably to get eyeballs on that article. That's the silly thing too, right? If they had said a meteor, you know, weighing blah had fallen, they would not have gotten nearly as many views as people say as if they said a corgi-sized meteor, because corgis are memeable. I saw a person in our neighborhood walking 4 corgis the other day. It reminded me of Miss Imp. I guess they're small enough to stack, so they fit more in the house. Yes, exactly, right, Beguiler? Yeah, crocheting is interesting that way, right? Because there's different measurements and different ways to say the different thing, and probably same with knitting. In fact, when we complain about like terminology sometimes not being the same between for mini painting between Europe and America, we should stop and just consider how different knitting and crocheting are, because like, hey, we're a lot better than that. It could be worse, folks. It could be worse. Your phone is your frame of reference, yeah. Alrighty. There we are. We have our metal. She has a lot more blue-black here than she does on the front because the cloth comes in and modifies it. It comes in bites. Alrighty, so we've got our blue-black detailed, so now we're going to add our first level of highlights. I'm going to add a little water to my paint just to keep it good at this point. It's been a little dry here, although we are due for rain tomorrow and I think like 5 days of rain. Oh, that's funny, Beguiler. I like that. I was just thinking about the Lord of the Rings movie because the Magic System book I've been reading uses Lord of the Rings movies as one of its references for magic systems. It uses Stargate SG-1, Lord of the Rings movies, Marvel Universe, and Mistborn. Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn. Because Brandon Sanderson is great at making hard magic systems. Illegally small cats. That's funny. always was speeding. I was always tempted to speed when it was kilometers per hour because I'm like, I was always like, am I speeding? Am I speeding? I just didn't know. All right, so we're gonna do this just like anything else. We're gonna use our first highlight is gonna be upward facing surfaces. And we're gonna do pretty much the whole surface. We're not gonna mess around with it. The cylinder is different when you have, with these, like this is an angled surface here on this glove part. So we're painting the top surface, the light, and the same with this one. This is also an angled surface. Here on the hand, it's more flat, so we're getting the edge. NMM highlighting very much depends on the shape of the surface, and so that's why it's a pain for so many people. Oh, there's a cool video on YouTube. I just watched it last night while I was cooking Papa's chicken treats, where Brandon rates all of his books based on how difficult they were to write, which was interesting to me. It's not on his channel, it's on another lady who helps with his book club, her channel. It has some interesting tidbits about like which characters and which like flashbacks in Way of in his big trilogy are, you know, were hardest, and where he ran into like writer problems was interesting listening. See, and I never got into Mistborn. Like, I don't know, the character in the first book just didn't catch me, Kodiak, and I just didn't. I put it down, never picked it up again. But I loved Way of Kings. Although I also, it's worth saying, maybe this is a Sanderson thing. I put down the second book, and I haven't gone back to it. I will eventually. I think Brandon Sanderson for me is like George R.R. Martin. I have to be in the mood. Like when I'm in a particular mood, then I really want to read those authors. But when I'm not in that type of mood, I don't. And it's a weird thing. Because when I'm reading those books, I really enjoy them, but they definitely take more brain on my part. MSP bottle for reference is cute. So the highlight is not, you can see the highlight, but it's not like glaring, right? And that's exactly what you want. It needs to be pretty subtle for you to be able to blend it, to get it to work for you. If it's too bold, then it's too evident that you're actually not blending. Here on the arm, this is a cylinder, so we're mostly going to bring the highlight down in a straight line. And you can see that right there. You can see that on the shoulder it's a little broader, but then boom, 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 right? You see that line of highlight. There's a little tiny bit back here, but not a lot. Then the elbow is mostly going to get reflected light, but we can still hit it a little bit. Yep. I always do that. I'm constantly doing ounces to grams or whatever for baking. Because I use, I have cookbooks from a lot of British cooks, British chefs or bakers, and so I just always have to look up stuff. I'm just used to it. I usually get a sticky note and make and write down the conversion, so I don't have to do it more than once, so sometimes I forget. Alrighty, so we got a little bit of highlight there, so we can come back more later. Are you sure you're not turning into a vampire, Korniko? I mean, there is that series, that mystery series called The Vampire Knitting Circle. I have to wonder. If you start knitting things supernaturally fast, but you already do, because you whip out your cat costumes extremely quickly. I'm going to start thinking that maybe your doctor is actually your immortality engine. Not that I would complain if you became immortal, because you're really cool. So, I mean, of all the people that I would think should be immortal, the coolest people are on the list, right? Oh, cups, yes. Cups are just 8 ounces, right? But then you have to figure out how many fluid ounces is in a... Yeah, never mind. I'll just start inquiring as to how the process is going, Korniko. If you're starting to get allergic to sunlight yet and things like that. Alrighty. So we've got the highlight there on the breastplate. And there we're just doing the upward facing surface, but we are trying to keep it a little rounded. Yeah, but if you lose your phone, you just there's all sorts of places you can go to get your emergency replacement. Or you can just grab a friend's phone. Because it's not like there's a dearth of cell phones in the world. All right, so a little bit more round there, so we're good. Now here we're going to do the same thing. You can see that these are angled, right? You can see the angle in the sculpt. So the top facing upward half is going to get painted with this first highlight. We can always go in and darken it if we get a little bit too light. But there's those 2 highlights there. Yeah, there you go. Secretly, Scotland is being turned into vampires. Nobody will ever notice until they try to travel to somewhere like Australia or the south of France. Then they all become incinerated. What happened? I don't know. She just went to Tuscany. Oh, I use grams for baking all the time. I've just gotten in the habit now. Because I know how many grams my almond flour is, and I know how many grams my gluten-free flour is, and I just use that. So here on the hand, it's just going to be the upward-facing edge that we're going to highlight. Yeah, unfortunately, I am a terrible person who constantly keeps my phone on silent. Because I'm always doing stuff like this. Or videos, and I don't want to have to reshoot a portion if my stupid phone goes off. So my phone is always on silent. I think David enabled Find Anne's iPhone on his phone so that he could find my phone if I lost it. So he can track me via my phone. But I don't care, because if he can find it, then I'm happy. All right. Listening to buzzing. That's funny. Yep. Yeah, but I get spam calls all the time. I get all that crap, and I just don't want to be interrupted. It's that focus thing I was talking about where the littlest thing can really annoy me and break my focus. So I'm always seeking to minimize interruptions when I'm putting my head down and getting stuff done. I'm capable of getting a lot done in that state. It's just gotta have the focus. That's why it's good that David doesn't work from home anymore. So it lets me, the puppy was an interruption for a long time, but now she's much better. Yeah, that's a problem with a new phone if you're like you don't know how to do anything with it. I hate to say it, but that's why I have an iPhone, because the new versions are like the old versions for the most part. There aren't all these choices, and there aren't all the. Sure, I can't modify it in ways I could if I was going Android, but like I do anyway, I just use everything out of the box. Yeah. Yeah, and it's the thing is that focus is also a superpower, right? It's like because it's that moment when you get in the zone and you can just like go and you do really good deep work, right? And these days, deep work is endangered, right? Because so many people like are just like reaching for shallow stuff all the time. You forget how to get into the zone. Your brain forgets. So having focus, like having the ability to focus deep like that, is really it is a superpower. And so I even when I get annoyed at it, I can't really like fault it because like it enables me to like accomplish so much in a relatively short period of time. Cool. Cool, Twisted Doma. Oh, sleet, yeah. 5% battery. Yeah, it's supposed to get. It was super windy last night. That's why we lost power, and we're supposed to have more wind today. So, again, highlights. Got to remember to keep enough of our dark color. If we lose it, again, we've got it here, so we can just paint it over to darken things down. And we get the upper edge here and the lower bit. Now we can see the armor coming out more. Like, this is a lot more visible than that is. And the other leg, the leg is just a duplicate, although I did see that I didn't have a highlight right on the edge of this plate, so I want that, the uppermost plate there. I got my coaching stuff for my writing coaching, and it was very interesting. It's the strengths thing again, so it pulls out what you're really good at and talks about how it can be useful to you as a writer. I felt very targeted though, because it was talking about it's really interesting because people who have high focus like I do tend to do well under pressure. And when I was younger, I really feel that, like, totally I did. Like, that's why I did so well in the paint department, because there was constant pressure and I performed really well. But as I've gotten older and as I've gone through really high stress times, like my surgeries and the divorce, I feel like I've gotten a lot more sensitive to stress. So I feel like pressure isn't the good thing that it once was for me because of those experiences. I kind of feel like maybe it's something I could work with, like, with just like kind of mindset stuff. Because definitely when things happen like that, it's definitely mindset. But I would like not to stress out and feel overwhelmed so easily. That would be nice. So maybe maybe that's what I need to coach. Like the specific thing I need to target with it. Hey, Miniatures Den. Pack of people. Yeah. Oh, I need to look at my time. Okay, we're good. Hello, Luca. It's Luca Day. I'm going to just get the top of the foot here. Again, this is a cylinder. It's a truncated cylinder, right? Because the foot is it's flat on the bottom. But you still highlight it as if it's a cylinder. So it's still a line, in general, a line highlight going down. The top of the foot is flatter, so you're going to make it a little broader there. Yeah, I don't know, or more sensitive, right, to it. This is a miniature for Reaper. It's actually a ReaperCon figure, but it is available in general production. ReaperCon Dungeoneer Sophie. She's actually a succubus, but you don't have to put her wings on. So it's if you with a little putty, you could easily fix the hair and just use her as a female fighter or paladin. But yeah, so she's actually, we've already painted the wings. So those will be going on after I've got, hey Gallifrey, after I've got it all together. But we're doing the blue-black. I wanted to do blue-black on the armor. We'll do some silver steel-colored chainmail as accents, and the cloth is going to be red. But yeah, it's a great mini. Yeah, no problem, Tartar. But now we're doing the first level of highlighting on the NMM, so I'm just doing one level paying attention to surfaces that are upward, looking at the shape of the surface. So where it's a cylinder, it's going to have a very linear highlight going down from the top to the bottom in line with the light source. Rounded areas like the breastplate are going to get a round highlight, though they are, of course, interrupted by the tabard there and stuff like that. So I'm going down over here, and then we'll mix our next highlight. I always keep my, we did this leg as kind of a proof of concept of how I wanted the armor to look. And I liked it, so we're working with it. Cool, Agent Marble. Yeah, that is one thing about NMM. If you're doing like a black and white NMM or a dark NMM, that of course is going to have very bright highlights. I kind of feel like this is a good way to learn NMM because it's very stark where your highlights and your shadows are, right? There's not a lot of subtlety to it, and you'll know right away if it looks wrong. But on the other hand, sometimes doing these type blends can be difficult, so it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Could be good, could be bad, give it a try. If anybody else shares my Overwatch addiction, though, I know somebody out there does. World Cup has started with trials, so I can't wait to sit down in front of the TV with my knitting and watch kids play video games. Though not all of them are kids anymore. Some of them are in their 20s. Yeah, red is difficult. Whenever you change the color, it ought to be easy, but finding the right shadows and highlights for it can be difficult. I can't remember. Did we do a red NMM, guys? I don't remember if we have. For some reason, I thought we had, but maybe we actually didn't. It's a common, like when people want to do colored NMM, red is one of the most commonly requested colors. So I'm just going to do, each of these little diamonds has a, is angled. They have a angle down the middle. So I'm kind of trying to hit that with my highlight, leaving dark on both sides. Got to hit the lower part of the knee part here, and we've got the upper part of the knee. Here on the sides with these little butterfly shapes, it's the scallop. That lower part of the scallop actually will show up as well as the top edge. I might have done a vampire in red NMM armor. Maybe we did, yeah. I don't know. I've painted so many models on this show. It's been a long time, guys. Long time. And then we're going to get a little bit of this. There's going to be some reflected light on the bottom of the greave here. We will have a little bit on the calf from behind. Got the top of the foot for the most part. I've got kind of a little piece there that doesn't want to... I think I may have missed a little bit there. Maybe I may have missed a little bit of a mold line there, or I've just got a little bit of a... Need to put a line in there to separate those plates out. That's better. I do love doing blue-black armor. Super fun. Super fun. It always looks so good. So this is just the first highlight. We're about to mix our second highlight once I get some little highlights in here on the sole of the foot. And then I also have to do the back side real quick. Once you get down to the next highlight though, everything starts moving faster. Because your highlights are going to get smaller. So on the back of the leg here, we've got these rounded areas on the calf. And so we are going to keep those rounded. I'm going to hit the edge here is flaring out. It's going to catch the light. We have a definite like cut in here. These little areas are sticking out, so we're going to get them. Rounded highlight, a little bit. It's going to be, there is going to be a little bit of a lead up the back of the leg here, but it's going to go up into the shadows. So we are going to have a highlight on the heel, and then it's going to go up, but it's going to stop. This is doing models with all this intricacy of armor are fun because you got lots of different shapes that you can illustrate. Oh, the chibi money, yes. Yeah, the chibi money, I mean, it was small, right? But we did do that. You're right. I'd forgotten her. All right, I think we're about ready to get our next highlight. Okay. All righty. We have our card that we did. So we are now at 2 drops of white to 2 big brushfuls of our previous highlight color. So we'll do 2 big brushfuls of our blue-gray. I'm going to get my big mixing brush, which is very large. Only attempted though, right? 1 big brushful. Let's see. Let's go back. 1 big brushful, 2 big brushfuls, and then 2 drops of pure white. And I'm going to need to thin because I've added, for starters, when I'm doing something with blending, if I'm adding 2 drops of pure white, I'm going to add 1 drop of water for every drop of white. Just for starters. I will tune from there. And I will probably need to thin it more. Probably I'll need 2 more drops of white, or of water, sorry. But having it this consistency, although it's thicker, means that I'm going to be able to do spot highlights, make these very small on some of these intricate areas. So I'll do that first, and then when I need to blend, I'll throw 2 more drops of water into this. Stuff in the air in my throat is definitely cloggy today. Backstabbed by your own seat. And your husband thought you'd be done in a few days. Ha ha ha. Oh, I was watching a thing on Henry Cavill last night where he's talking about how he loves Warhammer. Like, he was on some talk show and they just digressed into, you know, what's your favorite thing if you're not, like, what are you doing if you're not shooting your latest series or doing your acting stuff, right? And he's like, I am doing Warhammer because it's my thing. He paints. Yeah, I know, right? Not The Witcher anymore, though. Not The Witcher anymore. But boy, so sexy as The Witcher. David's like, you're taken! I just love all the actors who are complete nerds, though, these days. There are a lot of them now. So I'm doing line highlights to start with. Let's get in here. So these angled pieces, you can see how I've got like a line coming down here. This is just to kind of block in where my brightest highlight's going to be. Otherwise, I'm doing a lot of edge highlighting. Remember that, you know, we do usually a lot of edge highlighting in white. But you can also, on a very dark armor, you can do some edge highlighting in your mid highlight. And then, because you're only going to be taking small places up to white. So doing a little bit of edge highlighting with a slightly lighter blue, but not up to white, lets you get that effect still, that reflected light. Oh, Turgeon. There are very few actors that I'm like, you know, usually I'm like, oh yeah, he's good looking, whatever. But the problem is that I have a weakness for like white, long-haired, like elf lord types, and Henry Cavill as The Witcher is exactly that vibe, even though he's not an elf. But still, I have a weakness for that type, and he nailed it. There, so a little bit of highlight there. You see it shows up very bright on camera. I'll blend it in a bit. So I'm going to take my previous highlight. I'm going to throw some water into it because it's gotten a bit thick over the course of the stream. And I'm going to paint it over the top there, just to fade that in a little. Polly, it's an IPVO, IP as in Peter, EV as in Victor, O, and it's a, I forget which one it is, KZX or whatever, something like that. But if you look up IPVO, it's actually not a webcam, it is a document camera. So when you look up IPVO, just type in IPVO document camera or document cam and you will find it. It's the only cam that I've found that can get nice and close resolution on this sort of thing, so you can actually see the brush strokes. A little bit there, yeah. So this is still way too, for blending, for these big areas, you can see this is just way too strong still. So I'm having to paint over it with the previous color to blend it in a little bit. And what I'll do then is I will stop trying to do, so I painted some of the lighter color over there to take it down a bit. So I'll stop trying to do these big broad blends, and instead I'm going to concentrate what I originally said with the edge highlights on this, and I'll thin it before I do the blends. At least a month, yeah, depending on what you're painting or how much you're painting. So I'll use this color to do little tiny details like that little stud right there. The top edge here, you can see it coming in. Anywhere where I need to hit an edge with a very small highlight, so like here on the elbow edge, right there. If I want to do edge highlights on these guys, I just won't try to do the broad highlight, I'll try to do just the edge. Alrighty. Where are my little bits? So these little guys down here, which are angled diamonds, they get a straight down the middle highlight. And I could also hit these the little flanges off the side here. I won't do it under here because you've got the shadow. And if it's a little wonky, like that one is, I'll go back and repaint it with the dark. It's really easy to touch up at this point, so. Yeah, VZX. That's it. I couldn't remember. One of these days I'll pick up a backup just in case this one will eventually die. The reason I bought this brand is because it got excellent reviews from teachers on lasting like forever and giving no problems. Hey, Keeker. The Keekster has awoken. Hear the papa over there. Patiently or not so patiently waiting for me to be done with stream. Yeah, the Games Workshop stuff has gotten pretty intricate. So just getting the edges here. Again, this is fine motor control, and the more of this kind of thing you do, the better you get at it in general. Brush control, if you're trying to make brush control better, it's one of the things that you can actually improve when you're speed painting. But you have to tighten in on it a little bit. If you paint when you're speed painting, if you paint very messy, then your brush control isn't going to improve no matter how many things you paint. But if you do try to be precise when you're being fast, you can improve this aspect of painting. You can actually improve even when you're speed painting. It is more likely that you improve this through trying to paint well, and then you get fast with it. Like, that's the usual progression, but as far as like things in the hobby that you can still improve on even when you're painting fast and quick and dirty, brush control is one of those things. Your fine motor detail is one of those things you can improve on if you try. I was just listening to a writing book the other day, and the guy was like, you can write a bunch of books, but you're not actually going to become a better writer just by writing a bunch of books. If you want to be a good writer, you have to actually try to become a better writer. It's the same with painting. It's like you can get a certain level going just doing a lot, right? Just painting a lot of stuff. You will definitely get better at certain things by painting a lot of models, and brush control is usually the one that you see. Color composition is another thing that you'll get better at color choices if you as you work through it. If you put a little thought into it, you could get a lot better if you put a lot of thought into it. So I'm doing those edge highlights again. But now I'm to the point where, I need to do leg. Yeah, we're getting close to the end of the stream, so I have to be mindful of the Lord of the Alpacas returning. So we won't get to the blending this time. We'll have to do our blending next time. And tomorrow is Old Spice Genie Day. I need to figure out what I want to work on him. Now, as I get to the knee here, I'm not actually putting, notice the highlight is not going on the top part of the knee. It's going on the angled point where the knee, you can see how the knee comes out and cuts back. It's on that angled part that the highest highlight comes up. Yes, the Old Spice Genie. You all know who I mean. Okay, Crowley, have fun. Yep, that's it, Big Jimbo. You've got it. Yep, deliberate practice. It's all about deliberate practice. So many research studies on this at this point. If you want to get better, you have to put a little bit of mental energy into getting better. If you want to get really good, then it's a lot of deliberate practice. The nice thing about our hobbies, though, is that the deliberate practice is fun. Like, you know, I'm not trying to be genius at my knitting, but it is fun to practice it. And it's fun to practice mini painting. Even when I'm trying really hard on a new thing and it gets a little frustrating for me, like with Sky Earth NMM, it's still fun because I'm still painting. So a little bit down there on that edge. Yeah, but I mean, it's true in everything, though. It's like, and this is where that whole thing, lately I've been reading a lot about how the habits that we're acquiring through, like, you know, like the internet and social media, you know, web surfing, all that, are kind of not good for us because it inhibits our capacity to get deep focus on, right? And some people, you know, they don't have, that's not one of their superpowers anyway, and they're better off kind of doing light skipping over various topics. But for those who can focus, you can get exponentially better faster if you have focus as kind of one of your superpowers when it comes to mini painting, probably when it comes to anything. We're getting that. Now we get the foot. Oh, okay, cool. Cool, Inner. I have it on my list for the next 2 days. I have it to go over my Discord because, yeah, I was bad about checking it when I was in Arizona. I don't get to see my folks very often, so wanted to actually spend time with them. Did not do a lot of work. So a little bit, some of these are a little bit broad, and I can kind of tone them. You can see these aren't as broad, but that is coming off as very bright, so I'll probably do a glaze over it real quick. Yeah. Oh, I forget which the studies are. There's a book called Deep Work that goes into it a bit, but that all of the multitasking that today's world like encourages in us is not necessarily a good thing for our brains as far as being able to focus or concentrate to produce like deep creative work, which requires like sustained concentration, right? Because your brain just kind of falls out of the habit of doing that sustained concentration thing. There we go. So that glaze, smooth things out, takes it down a notch. I'll have to mess around with this. This looks a little bit too linear for my liking, but this is a little bit better. Essentially, the flatter the foot is, the flatter the part is, the wider it should be. So it's not necessarily going to be all like that. Parts of this, like this is a flatter plate, right? But that's okay. We've got plenty of time to correct. So we've gotten things started to be mocked in. You can see the like kind of the shadow of the way the future NMM will look. I mean, and the thing about like what Bradbury says is it's very similar, and it's but then again, different people's brains work differently, and some people's superpower is not focus. Some people's superpower is adaptability, where they're able to flip from one thing to another very quickly, right? But even so, being able to get really sunk into something is a good ability to cultivate as much as you can with your given personality. Oh, not beyond. Oh, okay. No, I didn't see it. I didn't see it that Luca was going to just throw us to the wolves. Not that you guys are wolves, you're alpacas. You might be wolves in alpacas clothing, but other than that. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I started actually kind of mostly on time today. I guess I could do a little bit of something. Oh, I can do the back. Do the back of the. We didn't get to the back. So we'll finish this out and then we'll do it. I'm just imagining a wolf in alpaca's clothing. That wolf would be really warm because I hear alpaca wool is like one of the warmest fibers. That would be a very sweaty wolf. Oh, I was going to thin this. Dough and bad and no cookie. Now I have to go over the top of it. All right, let's just do our edges first. She's just a good sculpt in Aura. I could do anything to this and have it look good, I think. I feel like this is a good example, guys, when I'm talking about competitions. Choosing a model for competition. Choose a model like this, where everything is so sharp and so well sculpted and so well defined. There's no part of this model that is mucky or, you know, like poorly sculpted or, you know, gooey or soft. It is all very crisp detail. It's got a lovely attitude to it. There's lots of room to show your stuff, depending on what you're, you know, if you're good at NMM, this is definitely a model for you. But in general, like, you're putting aside your own talents or whether you can do NMM or not, choosing a very cleanly sculpted figure should be your priority. Because if any part of the model is kind of soft or not sculpted very clearly or kind of phoned in, you are going to fight with that part, trying to paint it well. So this is an example of, like, when I say choose a model that doesn't fight you for competition, this is what I mean. From there, you choose a subject matter based on what your strengths are. Or if you're trying to improve, you choose a subject matter based on surfaces that will allow you to do so. So if you're practicing your NMM and you know that you're not great at it, but you want to level up on this model, then you'd choose a model like this. Or if you're really good at NMM, you'd choose a model like this to play to your strengths. But if you're really bad at NMM and you're not really, like, in the zone to, like, make a run at improving it, don't choose a model like this because it's going to only point to your weaknesses. Yeah, pick a model you don't have to fight with, but so many people don't get this. So many people don't get this. They pick a model that they really like the character of, but the model has big flaws. And then when they're halfway through the model, they realize that the model has big flaws, and then they have to try to do paint plastic surgery. And it doesn't always work, depending on the level of painter you are. So essentially, when you've got those areas that are just not done great or that are faulty or flawed, then it's all up to you to disguise or resculpt that area, right? And that's going to depend on your skill level. And so those are the places where you can really fall down. That can make the difference between a silver and a gold, folks. Right there. I have seen this happen. So even if you like the character of a model, be tough on it. Look at it from all the different areas. Imagine yourself painting all the parts. Make sure all your details nice and crisp. Make sure the surfaces are smooth except where they're not supposed to be. Look for mucky detail, especially on stuff like fur. That might be a pain in the butt to paint. If at any point looking at a model for competition, your brain goes, oh, that's going to be a pain in the ass, that is where you stop and put that model aside. Maybe still consider it, but look at other options. Give other options a real hard look. Then go back to that model and say, well, is this model still better than any of these other options that I have? Bye, Turgeon. But yeah, this is just a very clean model like this, a very well sculpted model. Probably the most dicey part of this model is the hair, because hair is hard to sculpt in 3D. And I'm sure that sculptors are going to get better and better at it as time goes on. But this one is better than most. I could still, because it's nice smooth hair, I could at least still suggest like strands, and I could still highlight it in a realistic manner. So, but yeah, this is just the kind of model that's going to look good no matter what paint job you put on it if you're competent. It's a kind of model that can level you up if you're not as good yet. Because it's so clean, it will be, if you just follow what's sculpted, it will be easier than a model that is not sculpted so well. So I'm getting the line edge highlights on here. But yeah, and some people, sometimes it takes time for you to realize, oh, there's an angle here. it'll take time for you to realize, like, to see those mucky parts, right? Like in the beginning, you just see like the character of the model more likely, and you don't have the eye for micro detail yet to look at a model and spot some of those trouble areas until you get into painting them, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? And that's fair. Like, that's okay. That's just a learning process. Don't kick yourself too hard. Just do what you can and move on. But try to develop your eye for that and your awareness of that, so that when you do get up to the level where you're like, I want to paint for competition, I really want to make a run at silver or at gold this year, you know, then you can choose a model that's only going to reward you when you do the right thing by it, and not a model that you have to correct. Every once in a while there's a model that appeals to me so strongly I will do the sculpting to make it more like what I want. But it's a rare thing. But then I really do enjoy painting stock models. Like, I am not as much of a sculptor as many painters are who like to do a lot of conversion. There we go. So we've got that blocked in. There we are. But yeah, this is just a really nice model. So yeah, if you paint 28s and you really are in the mood to try some like finer detail and a more intricate model, or if you're trying to work on your NMM, this is a good mini to start with, as long as you've got the brush control to hit the fine details. Or if you want to just develop that, if you just want to like try, you know, I'm going to be doing this chainmail and I'll show you. It's actually quite easy, but it is still small details, so you still need to get a little bit of brush control to work with it. Okay, yeah, tomorrow is Mr. Old Spice Genie. You know, I think we'll work on gold NMM. If I can get his gold NMM done, he's really close to completely done. And I'm getting kind of sick of him at this point, so I feel like we really need to start working on the gold so that we can have him conclude and I can work on something new. Otherwise, I'm not going to finish him. And I put enough work into him at this point that I'm like, I would be very sad not to finish him. So yes. So tomorrow, let's work on the gold, because I really do like the color that we're getting. We're doing this with a bit of red in it. And so, yeah, we're working all of this. It's getting there. It's getting there. So, yeah, tomorrow that is what we will work on. And then he already looks like he's already looking close to done. Once we get all this gold done, he'll look very, very close to done. That is what we'll do. So thank you, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. I will be, at this point, I think, the next time I might be out isn't till like, I'm skipping Adepticon, so David's going alone, so he'll have to entertain himself. Oops. But I'm staying home because the pupper's she's just not there yet. She will be, but not there yet. So I'm staying home from Adepticon, so I'm not going to lose time for that. I do have, wait, I forgot, puppy news. Kiki's going to have little half brothers and half sisters. Did you wake up when you heard your name, little dog? So yes, I'll have new puppy pictures to share with you guys. They're supposed to be born right on my Reaper work anniversary, April 1st. And it's Kiki's mama with a different boy. Yep. And so Bridget just had the ultrasound this morning. So they confirmed at least a couple of puppers. So it might not be a big litter this time. I wonder if I have pictures of the boy. And I'll probably be going out for that litter evaluation. So that's when I will next lose time. But let me see if I can find the picture of the boy. But I'll probably lose a day, maybe two, traveling to Fargo and But yeah, traveling to there to do the puppy evaluation. So assuming everything goes well, I hope everything goes well and we can have that. And yeah, still looking, still looking. I know that she sent me a picture of the boy a while ago, but if I can't find it soon, I'll just call it. But yeah, so his name is Tuka Bear, and he's in Canada, is the name of the new stud. And he actually, she used him with Zammy's sister down in Texas recently, and really liked how those puppies turned out. So that's why she decided to do kind of a repeat. I don't know that any of those puppies went to breeding homes, so she might try harder with this one. But we do a series of 8 or 10 different tests on the puppies, Twisted Oma. So first of all, we're looking for conformations. We're looking for solid sound structure on the puppies, and we're looking for the attributes of our breed. So obviously we kind of grade them from breed quality that are really, really Shiloh and what we're looking for. And then pet quality puppies that might have ears that are too big, or a body that's really long, or, you know, splay feet, or, you know, bad bite, you know, things like that is going to be more of a pet puppy. What it comes down to is that pet Shilohs still are gorgeous. It's just, you know, it's just the little things we're looking for to improve on. Let's see here. Yeah, he's a Shiloh. This isn't an outcross. It is not an outcross. Let me see here. I'm almost there. I'm almost there, I feel. Oh, actually, yeah, the little puppies. I'm almost there. But yeah, so then we do temperament testing, which is actually arguably more important, because then we're looking for how sociable is the puppy, how independent and hard-headed is the puppy. How well does the puppy problem solve? Does the puppy get stressed out by loud noises or by unusual circumstances? How fast does the puppy bond to the tester? The tester is always a person the puppy's only just met. So just that day of the testing, it's a stranger until the puppy starts interacting with them. We also test things like, does the puppy have natural retrieve drive, you know, which could be a good thing for a service dog. Does the puppy have a prey drive? So you maybe, if the puppy's got a lot of chase and prey drive, a home with cats might not be a great idea. Things like that. And we're able to get all this. We're able to quantify all this by the testing. So, oh, I'm just like, this is taking me forever to get back to these pictures, so I might not be able to, but yeah. So yeah, okay, well, I'm totally like not finding the picture that I want, so I think we'll just call it. I think, oh, nope, that's Zam. Nope, more Zam. I thought I had it, and I didn't have it. Bridget and I talk too much. This is what it comes down to. Oh, there he is. Okay, I found it, yay! He's not pricking his ears up, but this is the boy. That's what he looks like. He's a very, very pretty boy. You are my best friend, person who I've never met before. Yeah, and actually, yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for in Shiloh puppies. So he's really golden boy. He's very pretty. He's got a beautiful face. Really handsome. Yeah, he's got that really light color and golden color. So that's Tuka. So yeah, that's the daddy. I should take a shot of this because people are going to ask, and I'll just save it to my photos right now. Save photo. There we go. Now we'll have pictures. But yeah. Oh, and here's him as a puppy. Yeah, so that's the daddy. When he was a pupper. Squee. Yeah, he looks like he's a cuddly bear, doesn't he? That's why they named him Tuka Bear. He definitely looked like a bear. So, yep, real cute, really good head, really nice broad muzzle. Nice dog. Yeah. So, that is the dog. So, that's, we'll see how these puppies turn out. I'm very interested to see it. But, yeah. Okay, guys, I'll let you go. I got to get the pupper out. I can see the wind picking up out there. So I better get out before it... I hate it when the wind blows stuff in your eyeballs. Yeah, the puppy pigs broke them. Alrighty, so come back tomorrow for Jeannie, and we'll be doing a lot of like intricate NMM, things like the belt piece here and the shoulder. So we will be doing that. Alrighty? I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'm going to get back into the swing of things. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, alpacas, for those who stuck around, and we will see you again tomorrow. Some of you. Bye.